Ready? Okay. That's as long as I can blow, sorry.
Shabbat Shalom. What, is this on? Do people know to get books? Welcome to our last Shabbat before our new year. We will open this very special Patriot service with America the Beautiful on page 681.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
And now I'd like to call up our president, Alec Levy.
Good Shabbos. As Rabbi mentioned, I'm the president of Ner Shalom. I'm also a Navy retiree. I'd like to thank and welcome all of our guests here tonight. 5 years ago, a group of congregants had an idea for a Shabbos service close to Patriot Day, and we have continued that service annually ever since. Tonight, we honor and thank all of the men and women who serve or previously served in the military, police, firefighters, emergency medical technicians, and other first responders. Thank you for what you do or previously did, and thanks also to your families as well. While we are very glad that many of you joined us here tonight, I also note that there are many service members who are deployed in places that we do not know who join us as part of our virtual community. And to all of you, thank you for your service as well. For the rest of us, I have a request. While we thank and honor these men and women one night per year, they serve 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So my request is that when you see one of these people in the community, and importantly, if they're not in the middle of something, go up to them and thank them for their service and what they do. I want to recognize a couple of people in particular who have joined us. Prince William County Fire and Rescue Chief Kevin McGee, Prince William County Police Chief Barry Bernard, and I'm not sure if a couple of others who said they were going to make it have made it, but State Senator Jeremy McPike from the 29th District, Councilman Mark Wolf from the Manassas City Council, and Delegate Foy or Supervisor Lawson, or not? Okay. Fire and Rescue Chief McGee and Police Chief Bernard have each agreed to share a few words with us. So may I invite you both to the BEMA, starting with Fire and Rescue Systems Chief McGee.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your invitation for us to be here and to have my colleagues from our Fire and Rescue System join us this evening. This has become a tradition for me to be part of your ceremony each year. And in addition to that, 9/11 is a very important day for me and many members of the public safety community and military community, of course. And so I have created my own tradition of going to the stations, fire stations on 9/11 to ask our firefighters and paramedics what they were doing on 9/11/2001. And I'm finding more and more what I'm hearing is, Chief, I was in kindergarten. I was in second grade. So I'd like to share a story. It's a story from my perspective of what happened on that day, if I could have the privilege of sharing that with you. As you know, it was a beautiful day. The skies were just perfectly blue. And I was the acting fire and rescue chief that day. We were having a staff meeting. We got a phone call to turn the TV on because a plane had just struck the World Trade Center. And so we did. And then more occurred. And finally, the plane that went into the Pentagon. And obviously we realized that our nation was under attack. And being in the National Capital Region, that we didn't know what would come next, so we immediately decided to activate our Emergency Operations Center. We know that we have a lot of Prince William County citizens who work at the Pentagon, and so if there were to be casualties, we need to brace ourselves what that impact would be to our community. Children coming home from school and not knowing if their parents were okay or if they were harmed in some way. And within about 5 minutes, a phone call came from our communication center to me to ask, can we send help to the Pentagon? And it wasn't can we, it was how much can we send? So we convened a task force that responded to the Pentagon. I stayed in the Emergency Operations Center for the remainder of that day, but on the second day I went to the Pentagon because we had a large number of our department staff there. And we have very well-established mutual aid system. And it was surreal to stand outside that building to see the portion of the building that was collapsed. And I was asked to be part of an interior sector, command sector, early in the morning. And I went in with the crew, and the building was hazy, there was smoke, there was active fire in many parts of the Pentagon. And as I looked around, there were soldiers going into their offices in their finely pressed uniforms. They were going there to prepare for war, to protect our nation. And we had to make the call that it's important that you do your planning, soldiers. You just can't do it here. The Pentagon belonged to the fire department until we were able to get the fire extinguished and make it safe for the headquarters people to be there. And I was just struck by the outpouring of support from our community and from our nation. Everywhere our firefighters went, they were greeted by citizens. They'd go to the grocery store to pick up food for their meal, and somebody in line would pay for the food and bringing things to the station. And over and over, how the community came together to support us. It was phenomenal. We were barraged by requests from the state and from Congress on what are your needs? What do you need to protect the homeland? And so all of us pretty much worked from all our waking hours. We just went home to sleep and that was it. And we were also involved in a lot of community events, memorial services and other events to recognize public safety officials. And there was one request that we had from the Army that asked for the chief of each department that responded to the Pentagon, this was in December, to attend the Army-Navy game. And we were exhausted. We knew the importance of being present. My boss had pneumonia, wasn't able to attend, so we tried to get a firefighter to be able to be approved, and the Army said, no, it has to be the chief or number 2 in the department, so I agreed to go. And so that morning we showed up and there was a train at Union Station. And in one car was the command staff of the United States Army, and the other car was the command staff of the United States Navy and United States Marine Corps. And I had the privilege of traveling with them as a guest of the Chief of Staff of the Army and the Secretary of the Army. And when we got to Philadelphia, we boarded buses to go to the stadium, and General Shinseki got up to introduce me to his command staff. And he pointed out that in the Army, we're trained to run away from fire and run away from explosions and bombs. And that's what we were doing when our building was struck. But as we were evacuating our headquarters, your firefighters were going in to save our building, and we'll be forever grateful. That continued. We were able to build relationships across the nation. I've worked with firefighters and fire chiefs from other parts of the country, and most recently, part of a delegation that we coordinated with the Department of Homeland Security to learn from the terrorist attacks that occurred in Paris, France. And the first day that we arrived in Paris, the Minister of the Interior had a champagne reception for us. And I have to tell you, the champagne was tasty. I had 2 glasses at 9 o'clock in the morning. But the Interior Minister told us that if we're going to defeat the scourge of terrorism, we can't let an ocean separate us. We have to work together. And so now we're working with colleagues in Europe. Just a few months ago, I was part of a delegation that went to London to capture lessons learned from the terrorist attacks that occurred in 2017. And we continue to work with our colleagues in Paris and in London, and working with the FBI. Just this week, after years of proposals and preparations, we had the final approval to have a fire service representative be in the Washington field office of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. So my point in this story is, as much as the terrorists wanted to rip us apart and strike fear and anger and angst and disrupt our lives, this only brought us together more than it ever has before. And our nation is better, our Commonwealth is better, and our community is better, as represented right here with the service that you're having. So, Mr. President and Rabbi, thank you again for the privilege of being part of your ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief McGee. Chief Warner.
Good evening. Great to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation, but really thank you to Ner Shalom for hosting this important Patriot Day service. It sometimes, as you reflect back, as we reflect back, it doesn't seem like 17 years ago in some ways it does. On that frightful morning, as Chief McGee mentioned, beautiful blue skies here in Prince William County, and we too were in a staff meeting, so I guess Tuesday is the staff meeting day in Prince William County, I don't know. But at 8:46 a.m., a beautiful morning changed to a tragic morning. And we all, as I look around the room here, most of us, not all of us here, but most of us, I'm sure remember that day. Some of us might be a little too young. But we remember that day, and we remember what we were doing, and we remember who was lost. 2,749 people died at the World Trade Center. 40 people died in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, on that plane, and 184 people died at the Pentagon. 22 of those folks were from greater Prince William County. And to help us remember our fellow county residents, those from this area, it's so fitting to have Patriot Day services such as this, and to pay tribute to the first responders who were at the site that day and the following days, and at the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania. There's many places that you can go to reflect upon that day, and one of them is just a few miles from here. And it will be the site of a service on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Freedom Park at the McCourt Administration Building. And when you go there, it's a very moving experience, particularly when it's quiet and you're there with yourself or just a few people. And you can see the stone represents, in the shape of a pentagon, represents what happened there. And there's two water streams that represent the World Trade Center towers. And there's a piece of Pennsylvania flagstone representing the town of Shanksville. And across the street, there are 4 pieces of steel from the World Trade Center that are arranged in a manner in which they may have fallen on that day, September 11, 2001. And you sort of wonder, when you touch that steel, when you stand next to it, what stories it could tell, what happened around that steel. I talked about the number of people that died, but one thing we always want to recall and always want to remember, our brave firefighters and our brave law enforcement officers, we continue to lose them due to illnesses that they have contacted from having worked at the World Trade Center and at the Pentagon and other sites. So it's so fitting that we're here tonight as we approach 9/11. America is strong. We are resilient. We continue to face challenges as a country, but it does indeed bring us together. It does indeed cross boundaries. We are America the strong. We are America the beautiful. And I encourage each of you, as you think about 9/11 this week, to reflect upon the events that happened there and the people that we lost and our friends and family and our first responders, but also think about the future and look forward as to where we are as a country today and what lessons we have learned and how we hold hands with people that perhaps we didn't know before, and how we come to communities such as Ner Shalom, who's a vibrant, strong partner in Prince William County in all ways, in all forms, and is dedicated to community service here in our community, serving every day. I know a number of people that from Ner Shalom, and I enjoy seeing them and working with them. And I think if we have a legacy from 9/11, from that day, which I think evolves over time, is that we are a resilient people, a very strong people, and a very strong nation. So thank you once again, Rabbi and Mr. President, for hosting this important evening. It really touches all of our hearts in public safety, and I know it touches our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Bernard.
Thank you. Now, we're going to sing a couple more songs to sort of get us in the mood for prayer and open us up for the spirit of this service before we get into the meat of the service, so to speak. But our next song is a Jewish song. Page 128 is an old, comes from Psalms, it is in Hebrew. So this is my opportunity now to explain to those who are new to Ner Shalom how our book works. The prayer, or the Hebrew, is the letters you don't know. Next to it will be the transliteration, or as we get into other sections of the book, it'll be bigger. That'll be the transliteration, so you can follow along the sounds that we're making in letters you do know. Underneath it is the translation. And then most of our prayers will have a double spread. So the right side is the prayer itself, and the translation is on that page is pretty literal. If that feels like stuffy to you, the translation there, on the left side of every page is some poetic interpretation of that same prayer. So if you find your mind wandering, that's a good place for it to wander, so you're still sort of in the spirit of what we're saying. We are going to try to do more English tonight than we would typically do, so you can follow along with us, but this is still a Shabbat service, so there will be some parts that are maybe unfamiliar, so we encourage you to follow along as best as you are able.
Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone to please rise and join me in singing of the Star Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the
seated, except for the Wolf family. If you would please join us up here on the bima to light our Shabbos candles and lead us in the blessing which can be found on page 121.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, l'hadlif ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who has sanctified us with commandments and command us to light the Shabbat candles.
On page 125, please join me in reading, "Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world on this day. On this day, Shabbat abide." Page 132. Sing to Adonai a new song. Sing to Adonai all the earth. Sing to Adonai, bless God's name. Proclaim God's victory day after day. Tell of God's glory among the nations, God's wondrous deeds among the people. For Adonai is great and much acclaimed. God is held in awe by all divine beings. All the gods of the peoples are mere idols, but Adonai made the heavens. Glory and majesty are before God. Strength and splendor are in God's temples. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Let the sea and all within it thunder. Let the fields and everything in them exult. Then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the earth justly and its people in faithfulness. Page 144.
Yitkada veyitkada shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, u'bizman kariv, v'yimeru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach, La'alam Lal Me'almaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei D'Kudeshah B'rehu, Le'elam in kol birchata v'shirata, tufbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma, V'meru, Amen.
We come now to the call to worship. The Baruch Hu is on page 146. If you are able, please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. So everything up to that point was just introduction. Now you've been called officially to prayer, so please read with me in the English at the bottom of page 149, or the middle of page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 151. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. On page 152 and 153 is the Shema, followed by the Ve'ahavta on page 154. We're going to be doing an English version of the Ve'ahavta, which Debbie Friedman wrote with the thys and thous, but if you follow along with what is written in the book, it still fits with the music, so just follow as best as you can. And please rise if you are able.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Vaed. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be upon thy heart, shall be upon thy heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. And thou shalt speak of them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, and when thou risest up. they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, that ye may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Please be seated. On page 157, we read responsively, and you read the indent parts. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations shall be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. On page 158, we read again responsively, these words that come from the Torah, the Song of the Sea. Archaeologists believe that this is the oldest piece of Torah to ever have been physically written down. These words that our ancestors sang when they crossed the Sea of Reeds to freedom. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? Your children witness your sovereignty, the sea splitting before Moses and Miriam. This is our God, Adonai will reign forever and ever. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Page 160. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, Sukkot Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 162, at the bottom. Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation. On page 164, we come to the central portion of our evening prayer. The Amidah, the standing prayer, continues over the next few pages. If you are able, please rise. Adonai, Sefat
tiftahu fi tehilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol, Atah Rav Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Ve'ofech Olim, Omatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot umidol melech melech meimit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'emanata lahachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated. We are now on page 173. Disturb us, Adonai. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from the shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of the living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. Page 179. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment now for silent prayer
You might use the words on pages 180 and 181, or just the meditations of your own heart.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen.
Amen. We turn our thoughts now to those who are ill and in need of healing. Our prayer for healing can be found on the middle of page 371, and we ask that God grant the healing of mind, body, and spirit to all those in need. We have on our list, for those in our community in need of healing, Ricky Grant, Mary Kennedy, Edith and Norman King, Skip Brace, Denise Logan, Ruth Brenner, Ron Ely, John Corr, Rosalind Cantu, Peter Winkler, Karen Thompson, Deborah Sondak, Dean Atchley, Ivy Bells, Bernard Strassner, Sharon Buell, Jean Walker, Gary Gentoff, Marion Finkel, Jennifer Goldberg Rosenbaum, David Deutsch, Louis Perlman, Lee McCoy, Eileen Milner, Mike Haug, Bill Brooks, Ellen Simmons, Brianna Campbell, Josiah Pendleton, Denise Smith, Clara Breeding, Bernard Levy, Lori Perry, Rebecca Scarborough, Scott Platts, Dave Avery, Kathy Brace, Bob Sparkman, Nikki Rubel, and Sili Sarab Batfrumadina. If anyone else has a name they'd like to share with us at this time, please do so.
Mishabera avotenu mekor Abraham leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor Abraham avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
is also our minhag, our custom here, to say a prayer for health and safety for all those in our community who are active military duty, first responders, and peacekeepers, those around the world whose jobs are dangerous so that our lives might not be. We have on that list from our community Oni Hinnanen, Joshua Ehrlichman, Martin Brown, Richard Rubino, Howard Mergler, Kyle Smet, Andrew Booth, Joseph Cald, Daniel and Bridget Stambowski, many members of the Nemero family, Pete Abelson, Jeremy Sharkey, Benjamin Hurd, Alexander Furman, Daniel Gilman, Curtis Miller, Rob Apgar, Ben Farrell, and Caleb Menzies. And we always include those in the armed services and on ships at sea who tune in and watch us from our live stream. And tonight I'd like to invite any of our current or former military or police officer or first responders of any kind who are present with us to rise and let us see who you are and honor you tonight as we say this blessing. May the one who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and our mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel, bless those who are serving in our armed services and our first responders. May God guard them and keep them from harm. If they find themselves in danger's path, may God bring them back whole of mind and body to all those who love them. May it be your will, Adonai Tzevaot, to lead them to safety and to protect them from each and every enemy and ambush. May God make their journey successful and guard their going out and coming in with mercy and love, and let them be blessed to return home with life and peace, now and forever. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. Thank you. And now, a prayer for our country can be found on page 376. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife. Our country be safe and sound in body and spirit. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I want to say thank you again, but not for the last time tonight, I'm sure, to all of our guests who joined us tonight, and to all of our Ner Shalomers. Thanks for coming out. This week's Torah portion, our weekly segment of scriptural reading, is called Parashat Nitzavim. It comes from Deuteronomy chapter 29, verses 9 through chapter 30, verse 20. We are nearing the end of the Torah, the end of the wandering in the desert, and Moses has just a few more reminders to give to the children of Israel before he dies and the rest of them enter the promised land. This is one of my favorite portions. We read it on the last Shabbat before Rosh Hashanah every year, and then for Reform Jews, such as Ner Shalom, we read it again on Yom Kippur in about 2 weeks from now. It is a reminder of our ultimate equality, that we are all one under the one who unites us all. Moses tells all of the people gathered before him that this heritage, this law, this Torah, this earth belongs to each of them equally, and they all have access to it, not only to them, but to all of their children, and their children's children, and their children's children's children, and so on. The key to a good life is not in the heavens or across the sea or locked in some esoteric texts, but it is here, before us, available to any who seek it. Yet, though Moses addresses the whole community and expresses this intended equality for every single person there, Moses also knows that there will be those in the community with different relationships to Torah and to the rest of the community. There will be scholars and religious leaders who may come to know the text more intimately, and there will be tribal heads and secular leaders, judges and officials whom the rest of the community will look to set the community norms as a whole. So when Moses addresses the whole community, he starts with these folks, the leaders, those he knows will have to set the example. Then he continues to name the men of Israel. Those in their time were the teachers of the children. Then he names even the immigrant and the visitor, those who may not quite be assimilated into the community yet, but are living peaceably among the people of Israel and are expected to follow the same rules. He names that this applies equally to those with prestigious jobs and those with manual labor jobs and those with everything in between. The 16th century rabbi from Italy, Rabbi Sforno, comments that the leaders enumerated at the top of the list were named as such because each one of these categories of people have the duty to teach the rest of the people within the parameters of their special competence, and how much better it is for them to accept Torah law than to defy it or neglect it, them even more so than everyone else. They are in a unique position to embody the divine law, to live righteously so that others may see them and live by their example. It can be a strenuous mantle to carry, to always have to live up to others' expectations and be the model citizen. But that is the responsibility that leaders bear in exchange for the authority their titles grant them. Later in this portion, the Torah warns that those who think the expectations of God will not apply to them will be sorely mistaken. The great Rashi, our 12th century French rabbi and certainly our most prolific commentator on ancient Jewish texts, clarifies that this warning applies to one who thinks that he may have the authority to bless himself and avoid the curses promised in other parts of the Torah. There's no curses in this parsha, but they're there quite a bit in other places. And a person who thinks they will be exempt will not only incur one of them, but all of them for the sin of disobeying the Torah and then the added sin of the arrogance to think that the Torah did not apply to them. The Torah really wants to make sure that we all understand the blessings of the Torah are available to all, no matter how great or small one may seem in their own eyes or the eyes of the community. And the consequences of ignoring the Torah will apply to all, no matter how great or small one may seem in their own eyes or the eyes of the community. The rules are varied, and some of these rules may be specific to the land of Israel or to the Jewish community, but the gist of the whole Torah can be summed up as a golden rule that I'm sure we all can agree upon. That which is hateful to you, do not do unto others. That is the whole of the Torah. The rest is commentary. Go and learn. So this Patriots Shabbat, we honor those who have done their best to live that model life for the citizens they serve. We thank you all for your service and to our community and country, and wish you the best as you continue on your journey. May we be blessed to live in a world where all are equal and everybody is able to and tries their hardest to live their best lives, that we may continue to work together to build a holy community among us all. Amen, and Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to call up now Harry Kantrovich to speak a few words on the day.
Good evening, Shabbat Shalom. I'd be remiss if I didn't say our live feed is working. I got a text just a little while ago from a young sailor that I mentored up through the ranks, who's now a Navy SEAL Chief Petty Officer. And he said, Master Chief, I just want to let you know, SEAL team, I can't give the number out, says, hoo-yah, we're watching. So if you're watching, shipmates, and everybody else that's watching out there, I hope I can get through this without choking up. So far with each of my rehearsals, I have not been able to, so. But September 11th, 2001, many lives changed that day, including mine. Our world changed that day. The lives of the survivors will never be the same. The lives of the first responders, the members of the military were changed forever. From that day and forevermore, they will deservedly be recognized as heroes. Now, Patriots' Day was a day originally set aside in April to commemorate the battles of Lexington and Concord. This is not to be confused with Patriot Day, a day to mark the anniversary of the terrorist attacks on 9/11. But it is now 17 years later, and Patriot Day needs to be a day to remember that day, but also remember what our military and our first responders sacrificed for us every day of every year. The chances are great that a military member and a first responder laid down their lives last night, and others will lay down their life tonight as I speak to you. The greatest way I know to honor these heroes is by a roll call. I can't list all, but I do want to remember some of those from our area. I would like to ask all military members and first responders, past and present, to stand while I present honors to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. I'm going to start off with a shipmate of mine, Senior Chief Petty Officer Scott Cooper Dayton, United States Navy. 42 years old, Woodbridge, Virginia. Died November 24th, 2016 in Syria of wounds sustained in an IED blast. Police Officer Ashley Marie Gwendon, Prince William County Police Department. 28 years old, of Springfield, Virginia. Died February 27th, 2016, while responding to a domestic disturbance. It was her first day on the job. Police Officer Chris Young, Prince William County Police Department, 35 years old, Warrenton, Virginia. Died December 31st, 2012, in a motorcycle crash while responding to a scene of a separate automobile accident. Firefighter Technician 1, Kyle Robert Wilson, Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue, 24 years old, Woodbridge, Virginia. Died April 16th, 2007, while conducting a search for residents of a burning house. EMT Cecilia Turnbow, Dale City Volunteer Fire Department, 42 years old, of Dale City. Died November 9th, 2008, while training to become a volunteer firefighter. Lance Corporal Colin J. Wolf, United States Marine Corps. 18 years old, Manassas, Virginia. Son of Ner Shalom's own Amy and Mark Wolf, brother of Cece Wolf. Died August 30th, 2006, conducting combat operations in Al Anbar province, Iraq, from a roadside bomb exploding next to the truck he was riding in. Please take your seats. The late actor Christopher Reeve, known for his portrayal a Superman, once said a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. This well defines our first responders and military members. They're not in it for the glory. They never ask to be heroes. All they ask is that they are allowed to perform their duties and that we respect them for who they are and for what they do. Today is our opportunity as citizens of Prince William County, the Commonwealth of Virginia, the United States of America, to give our thanks and gratitude to our military, police, firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs, past and present, and to their families who live with the sacrifices their loved ones made and make on a daily basis. I'd like to close with a prayer of remembrance for fallen heroes. Some might have stood by, but you stood up. You gave your lives so that others might live. We are indebted to you. We are humbled by you. When all hope was lost, when the world seemed like a dark and heartless place, you restored our faith in people and our trust in God. You taught us hope, fearlessness, and honor. We miss you. We will never forget your heroism. We will teach our children and grandchildren about your courage in the face of danger. We will try with all our might to live up to the example you have set. We will not ignore human suffering. We will not be indifferent to the cries of those in pain. You did not die in vain. You have changed us. You live on inside us in pride and love. May God watch over you as you watched over us. Rest in peace. Amen.
We turn now to our concluding prayers. The Aleinu can be found on page 586. We turn now to our concluding prayers. The Aleinu can be found on page 586. We'd like to invite up now any of our guests that would like to come up and open the Ark for us. Police Chief, Fire Department Chief, if you'd like to come up again and open the Ark for us. Anyone else that wants to join us, please do. And if everyone else would please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedola leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kakiye haratzot, velo samanu kamishbechot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, Umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech lachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad.
Tom Metzler, Norman Rosen, and Renee Adler Kaplan. If anyone else has a name of someone who's died in the past year, can you share it? And tonight we remember those who have died in this time of year in years past. Last week would have marked the yahrzeit for Sidney Daniels, William Gilman, Josephine DiMatteo, Cesar Lenegra, Colin Joseph Wolfe, John Epstein, Harriet Epstein, Robert Sherman. And this week would mark the yahrzeit for Tilly Zutz, Harvey Lavenow, Joseph Ashe, Bertha Herman, Leon King, Aldo Ottaviano, Harold Topolsky, Isaac Bormel, and Cynthia Alpert, Fran Siegel. If anyone else has a name of someone they're thinking of, maybe has died this time of year, years past, or just is on your mind tonight, please name them. Our mourners' Kaddish is on page 598. Mourners and those who wish to join them may rise. Yitkadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach yurtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yom echon, u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach ve'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'halal shemei d'kudeshav b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Ta'amiran ve'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. You may be seated. And now I'd like to call up our president again, Alec Levy, for some congregational announcements.
Once more, I'd like to say thank you to all of our guests who joined us tonight, and thank you to all the men and women who serve or have served our community and our country. Thank you, Rabbi Liz and Amanda and Harry, for a wonderful service. Thank you to the Wolf family for the Yoneg that we'll all be enjoying here shortly. As we get set to go into the high holidays, I'll keep this brief, and just Sunday morning on September 9th, this coming Sunday, religious school will begin. Sunday evening, Erev Rosh Hashanah service starts at 8 o'clock. Monday, September 10th, the Rosh Hashanah family service starts at 9:30. The Rosh Hashanah traditional service starts at 11 o'clock. And then Tashlik will be at 2 o'clock, and that's out at Bull Run Marina. Good Shabbos.
Our final song tonight is Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. Some song sheets went out, were handed out with your program, so if you have one, if you don't have one, look around you. Maybe there's someone you can look on with.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Please join us for some blessings over our wine and bread in the other room before we enjoy our own egg.